I have no idea why it has taken this long for Madonna and all of her charities to be investigated for this. This isn't even the first time Madonna has been accused, or there has been calls for her to be investigated for child trafficking. The second child she adopted wasn't even an orphan.
Madonna herself did not meet the adoption requirements that you need to adopt a child out of Malawi. Madonna bullied Malawian officials and demanded VIP treatment to get her kids.
Madonna is under investigation for good reason. She's being accused of human trafficking her own children. These kids were adopted from Africa in a malicious way. Madonna used her wealth to convince these families to give up their children. She promised she would return them, but she never did. So let's get into it. So Madonna has conveniently announced her big new tour as a country in Africa is calling for an investigation. Madonna is being accused of child trafficking in Malawi.
Accusing Madonna of trafficking and exploiting African children using her charity.
It's about freaking time. I have no idea why it has taken this long for Madonna and all of her charities to be investigated for this.
If you guys haven't heard of Malawi before, it's a country located in southeastern Africa, and they have a population of about 20 million people. There's an organization that's calling for this investigation, and they're called the Ethiopian World Federation, or EWF, and they claim they work on supporting Black people and Black children and protecting them against evil powers like Madonna and her charity.
Pop singer Madonna has been accused of human trafficking and sexually exploiting children by a charitable organization known as the Ethiopian World Federation, according to All Africa. As stated on the Federation's website, the EWF is a civic service organization that pushes policies and advocates to change the laws that harm all Black people.
So let's talk a little bit about Madonna's involvement and what we know. Madonna has adopted 4 children from Malawi, and she founded a charity called Raising Malawi, which is a non-profit group that seeks to support orphans and vulnerable children through health and education programs, which sounds amazing on paper. Even though Madonna tries to push herself as this savior, she's not saving people. And in fact, she's being accused of doing some horrific things. So the EWF is asking the president of Malawi to investigate Madonna's charity and to restrict her and her associates' accessibility to Africa and African children as a precautionary measure until a thorough investigation is done into child trafficking, sex exploitation, sexual slavery, adoption reversal, threat of coercion, fraud, deception, and abuse of power. So there's a lot that she and her people are being accused of.
2 child advocacy organizations that raised the alarms and is calling for an investigation into Madonna's orphanage in Malawi. The first organization is Eye of the Child. And then this month, the Ethiopian World Federation is calling for further investigation.
So let's talk about why they are trying to investigate Madonna. And it goes back to 1992. Madonna released a book titled Sex, and it was a very controversial book, definitely ahead of its time, but also not really ahead of its time because there were some really disturbing things depicted in this book. It doesn't sound like Malawi is really progressive, so when it comes to LGBT rights, you can, I guess, go to prison, so I'm never going out there because I'm not trying to be jailed up, but they don't appreciate Madonna's work by including same-sex people and pictures of herself hooking up with other women. They claim that Madonna had to sign a contract that forbade the book from including images of CP religious imagery, but after signing that agreement, she founded a company called Maverick and partnered with Time Warner. So she has total artistic control over any work released by Maverick, who's now the book's publisher. I think it's a little bit backwards that they're throwing in this book as evidence, but there are some things that really do rub me the wrong way. I've personally never read the book, but I found this snippet where I guess she describes hooking up with a teenage guy. She wrote, "One of the best experiences I've ever had with a teenage boy. I think he was a virgin. He hardly had any hair. He was Puerto Rican. He was uncircumcised. He lived in my building and used to come over to my apartment all the time, watch me put on makeup. He hung around me all the time. He never went to school, so I started giving him reading assignments. One day his parents kicked him out of his apartment, so he wanted to spend the night at, I guess, Madonna's place, and they ultimately, hooked up, which this is like some piece of evidence floating on the internet to, I guess, show how messed up Madonna really is. The petition argues that the psychology behind Madonna's ability to release this kind of content has prompted her to open an orphanage in Malawi, naming it Raising Malawi, to host social experiments on vulnerable African children. And this is when they bring in Madonna's children, because one of her adopted sons, David, is someone they're naming in this petition, and they're claiming that he's been used for sexual exploitation and social experiments, because there are photos of David wearing women's clothing, makeup, and jewelry, which, gosh, I don't exactly know how to react to this, because, like, obviously, we're way more progressive than this country is, but the EWF also alleges that Madonna falsely claimed David's dad of being absent when she applied for his adoption. Then Madonna went on to adopt more kids from Malawi. In 2009, after battling in court, the singer was finally approved to adopt Mercy James. Then she adopted a set of twins, Esther and Stella, in 2017. I guess Madonna was able to secure these children by buying off state officials. Quote, in 2013, the country accused Madonna of buying state officials and making diva demands, and citing her Raising Malawi charity as the reason for doing so.
Madonna herself did not meet the adoption requirements that you need to adopt a child out of Malawi. Madonna bullied Malawian officials and demanded VIP treatment to get her kids. They're calling for the president to restrict her and her associates' accessibility to Africa and to African children as a precautionary measure until a thorough investigation is done.
Sometimes celebrities are wrongfully targeted, and maybe the government's just upset with Madonna because of her work, how progressive she is, and how, sexual she can be, but I don't know, because where there's smoke, there's usually fire, and this is not the first time she's been accused of human trafficking.
This isn't even the first time Madonna has been accused, or there has been calls for her to be investigated for child trafficking. I'll never understand the hype around Hollywood celebrities, but this woman was allowed to buy 6 children, take them from their families, and the world looked the other way.
In 2009, Madonna was accused of child trafficking when the Malawi court rejected her bid to adopt a second child. In her ruling, the judge warned people against celebrity adoptions, stating that they could lead to child trafficking. Quote, anyone could come to Malawi and quickly arrange for an adoption that may have grave consequences on the very children that the law seeks to protect. But the court eventually ruled in Madonna's favor after she appealed in 2009 and probably coerced with some of those state officials to get these children. Let's talk a little bit about the second child that Madonna adopted. Their name is Mercy, and Mercy actually had a family back in Malawi that wanted her. Mercy's grandmother, Lucy, shared her heartbreaking side of the adoption process. Lucy placed Mercy in a local orphanage for care until her immune system improved, but never intended to permanently part ways with her granddaughter. Mercy's family said they would let Madonna adopt her only until she was of grade school age, and that she would return to Malawi every 2 years for visits. So Lucy's the grandmother and Mercy's the granddaughter. Mercy's mother died early on in her life, so Lucy took over, but Mercy's health wasn't doing well, so someone recommended to Lucy that Mercy should go into the orphanage until she's a little bit older and her health is doing better, and then you can take her back. But then Madonna stepped in, and she promised this family that she would go and support Mercy until, she was of grade school age, and then she can go back to Lucy and her family, but that never happened.
Mercy's grandmother, Lucy, shared her heartbreaking side of the adoption process. Lucy placed Mercy in a local orphanage for care until her immune system improved, but never intended to permanently part ways with her granddaughter. Mercy's family said that they would let Madonna adopt her only until she was of grade school age, and that she'd return to Malawi every 2 years for visits.
So they made this agreement, but Madonna failed to uphold her end. And Mercy never really got to see her family again. I mean, Madonna did go back to the country, but she never brought Mercy back to her grandmother, even though Lucy, at the end of her life was begging to see Mercy one more time. The fact that Lucy was on her deathbed pleading to see Mercy one more time is so sad, but Madonna's lawyers claim that Lucy had no legal right to see Mercy again, so be it. They just really don't care.
But never took Mercy to her grandmother, even though Lucy was reportedly at her deathbed begging to see her. Madonna's lawyers addressed the matter in 2011 and admitted that Mercy's family had no legal right to see her.
Which makes me question, if you care about this child and their well-being, wouldn't you want to connect them with their family who's publicly pleading for them? I mean, one day Mercy's going to grow up, look up her family, and realize that Madonna kept her away, and that Madonna initially agreed to something that she never fulfilled. So she's going to have this absence in her life and this, like, I could already see it, like this, like, need to, like, know what happened to her grandmother who was always wondering where she went. Mercy's biological uncle, Uncle Peter, signed the adoption papers after he and Lucy were told the little girl would be brought home on a regular basis. He was quoted saying, "She told me herself that she didn't want Mercy to cut ties with her roots and that she'll bring her home regularly." Madonna's other child, David, also has a similar experience because David's family claims that Madonna broke her promises with them. Quote, "The only reason I let Madonna adopt David was because she promised me she would give him a good education and that he could come home to live with me." And it's not just Mercy and David's family who's upset, because the twins' family is also upset. The twins' father, Adam, claims that he was misled throughout the entire adoption process and was told from the beginning that his daughters would be returned to him. Quote, "I was told from the start that Esther and Stella were going to a rich woman's home abroad and that she would give them a good education, then return them to me to live with me and help with my family." He was also quoted saying, "Now you're telling me that adoption is permanent? That cannot be true. I don't want it to be true. I'm their father and will always be their father." So there's a theme here, because these families are being told that they will get their children back. They're going to go and get a great education and come back to where they belong. But Madonna isn't following through on those promises, which makes me question her intentions. So I kind of understand why we need an investigation. But honestly, I don't see anything changing. Maybe Madonna won't be allowed back into this country, but it's not like they can demand these children back, because Madonna used her legal powers to convince these people to sign these agreements, and now she has these children. Unless, I guess, they can, like, claim that these agreements are fraudulent. But I mean, at this point, the children are growing up and they can decide if they want to stay or not. It seems that Madonna has a history of disrespecting the natives of Malawi. In 2012, the singer announced that she was planning on building schools there and would educate at least 1,000 kids per year. A spokeswoman for the Ministry of Education insisted that Madonna often acted behind authorities' wishes, adding that she was fed up with the pop star. Quote, "Now she decides to announce that she plans to build 10 schools without getting authority from us." So it seems like she likes to go and get this press and seem like this savior when she doesn't actually consult with the country that she's, like, exploiting. There's something else I find sick about this situation, and it's celebrity adoptions. And I don't have issues with adoptions. Actually, 2 of my best friends are adopted, but celebrities tend to go to these vulnerable countries and pick up these children, and it makes me question, because we have children, in the United States who also need help, but why do they go to these other countries? Is it because these children are, like, less protected? Madonna's interest in Malawi began in 2006 when she secretly visited a number of orphanages there. According to Hollywood lore, she had been encouraged to adopt an African child by Brad Pitt, a close friend of her husband, Guy Ritchie. In 2008, Christina Crawford, the adopted daughter of actress Joan Crawford, spoke out about celebrity adoptions and stated her concerns about Madonna and Angelina Jolie. Quote, "I have tremendous concerns about celebrity adoptions by people like Madonna and Angelina. From the adoptee's point of view, it's vitally important to know who they are, where they came from, or how it can have a profound medical and psychological effect. There's a human need to understand who we are and where we came from, and Madonna shouldn't be able to pluck these children from Africa and completely disconnect them from their families who still want them. It's different if these kids have no one there, but their families are actively asking for them back and upset at the fact that they were agreeing to some deal that was ultimately phony and made on broken promises. I don't know how Madonna is going to answer to this, but I have a feeling she's going to stay quiet and we're all just going to forget and move along. But what are your guys' thoughts? Do you think there's something up here, and do you think anything will come of this? Because no major news organizations are covering this. It just makes me think of how the media works together with the evils in the world to protect these type of things. And we need to protect those children. But let's go ahead and open a P.O. Box package item. It looks like this is from, I don't know where it's from. It actually doesn't say. So it looks like KOS sent me this plant protein, and it looks really good. What? Chocolate? Oh my gosh, chocolate and vanilla. Ooh, I love protein. You guys know I'm probably sweating. Actually, I'm not too bad. But I've been working on my fitness, so I'm definitely going to use these. Thank you, KOS. I think you just meant to send these to me, but I will link you guys below, and go ahead and check them out. I'll let you know if it's any good. Until next time, I'll see you in a new video soon. Bye, guys.